So we got a cool question on Twitter from Langley in Nigeria, and it has to do with something that we've been hearing from a lot of you about, and that is imposter syndrome. Particularly for those of you that are running a small business or those of you that have a side hustle that you're trying to turn into your full-time thing, imposter syndrome is very real. Let's deal with it right now. Langley writes from Nigeria, I'm passionate about film and cinema, Mel. I tweet and I blog about it. People are inspired by what I write. But when I'm offered certain opportunities, I clench up and suddenly feel like an imposter who will mess up and be found. I'm 36, I'm single, in a paycheck to paycheck situation, and feel like I have wasted many years due to overthinking, self-doubt, and never feeling good enough or ready. How can I overcome this? Well, you can't. You can't overcome the feelings that are rising up, Langley, but you can take action despite them. That's a very important distinction that I want each and every one of you to understand. The things that you're feeling, clenching up, feeling like you're not good enough, feeling like you're not ready, doubting yourself, kind of spending too much time thinking about how much time you've wasted, all that's normal that we all do. You cannot overcome those thoughts because they keep rising up and they've become a habit and it's sort of a pattern. So I don't want you to focus on the thoughts. I want you to focus on taking action, even though you doubt yourself. You are going to feel like an imposter until you push through that clenched up moment over and over and over again. And then suddenly, through action, Langley, you're going to see that you're not an imposter at all. You're actually the kind of person that pushes through and does what he or she says they are going to do. See, imposter syndrome grows and sticks around when you listen to it and when you keep thinking and when you freeze. The moment you take action, even though you feel like an imposter, you actually explode the syndrome. You kill it. You break it apart because you're not acting like an imposter. You're proving to yourself through the action that you know what you're doing. Now look, the feelings are going to take a while to catch up. The first 16 jobs that you do where you feel nervous, those nerves are going to be there with you the entire time. Feeling nervous is normal. Letting it stop you is a choice. I say this stuff all the time because this is what you're struggling with. If you suffer from imposter syndrome, it's not an issue of whether or not you have the skill. The problem is that you have a pattern of thinking in a way that stops you the moment you start to doubt yourself. If you want to be successful in business, if you truly want that side hustle to turn into your full-time thing, you have to learn how to let the feelings of doubt rise up, but take action anyway. You've got to learn to embrace the fact that you're going to feel like an imposter, but you, my friend, are the kind of person that moves forward anyway. You're passionate about film and cinema. Awesome. Keep tweeting, keep blogging. When people write to you, when they hire you and you get that clenched up feeling, that's a great sign. It means you're about to do something really cool. That's when you're going to just recognize the feeling, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take action like the rock star film and cinema guy that you are. I hope that that helps, but the only thing that's going to help you with imposter syndrome is for you to not listen to it and take action anyway. There was this one morning where I walked into the bathroom and I was standing in my underwear brushing my teeth in front of the mirror, and I looked up at the mirror and my first thought was, ugh. I noticed that my jowls were starting to look like saddlebags on a pack horse at the Grand Canyon. And I had like these crazy lines by my eyes, and my neck was really like kind of saggy, and one boob was hanging lower than the other, and my gray hair was coming in. And as soon as I started kind of critiquing my thoughts, or my looks and appearance, then my mind, Rich, started going, fuck, I didn't get that email back to that person, and I got that presentation I need to do, and my God, did that speech just cancel again? What the am I going to do? And then I look down and the dog needs to be walked, and then I think, I got a Zoom call in 9 minutes. Like, I got to get my shit. And before I knew it, my whole mood was low. I felt overwhelmed. I had taken myself down mentally. I just wanted somebody to walk in and be like, Mel, it's going to be okay. Like, you got this, girl. Like, it's lift your head up. You can handle this. I don't know what came over me, Rich. This is pathetic. But standing there in my underwear in front of my bathroom sink, I raised my hand and high-fived my reflection. And I cracked a smile because it's so fucking corny. I even thought of that guy, Stuart Smiley, from the SNL skits. Remember that? I'm nice, I'm kind, people like me. Went on with my day. That was it.
Snapped a photo, though.
No, not that one.
Oh, not that one. Not the first time.
And then I kept doing it. I did it probably for a week or two. And here's the weird thing about it. I started when I woke up after doing this high-five your own reflection in the mirror thing. I actually started to feel like I was looking forward to it. And here's why. You know, I've spent a lifetime, just like you, standing in front of the mirror. And what I realize now is that when I'm standing in front of a mirror, I'm either critiquing or picking myself apart, or I'm ignoring myself. And when you start to high-five your own reflection, it starts to build a partnership within you, with yourself. When you walk into the bathroom and you see your reflection and you've been greeting it, it's like seeing another person. It's the strangest thing. You start to realize how often you fucking ignore or destroy yourself when you see yourself or beat yourself up. And here's what's also crazy. You have a lifetime positive association with high-fiving other people.
Sure.
As a runner, as a racer, you have gotten so many high fives, Rich. What does a high five say to you when somebody gives you one?
You feel seen, you feel appreciated, you feel energized by it, and it's an exchange of energy. It's not the same, and you talk about this in the book, it's not the same as like self-talk because there's a participation involved in it. There's like a communion aspect to it.
Yeah. And, you know, if you think about it, you're so good at celebrating, seeing, and cheering for other people in your life. You plan birthday parties, you reach out to people when you're worried about them, you help out colleagues, you cheer for your favorite sports teams, you high-five people like Rich as they're running races past you, you buy people's merchandise, you do all kinds of stuff for other people, but nobody's taught you how to do it for yourself. In fact, the reason why it feels fucking weird to high-five your own reflection is because you've been taught to do the opposite.
Why is the default to just beat ourselves down like that? I mean, it is crazy. We would never treat anyone else in our lives, especially the people we care about, the way that we treat ourselves in terms of the self-talk or the narrative or the critique or the, you know, the kind of harshness with which we, you know, judge our appearances, our behavior, the way we, you know, think back on things that we said the other day and just are horrified by our own selves. And it's, I don't know if it's everybody, but it's most people.
Except for Buddhists. I mean, I think that they're like if you're a big practicing Buddhist, that's a monk.
Right.
That's like just
why can't the default be the good things though?
Well,
why is it wired that way?
You know why? There's cognitive bias. There's a bias towards negativity. And it's a protection mechanism that's a default from evolution, that if you remember the bad shit, you're more likely to spot it when it happens in the future.
So you can avoid it.
And here's where I think it begins. I believe my theory is that it begins two places. Either you, or that could be both actually, you either learned the pattern of beating yourself up because you had parents or caregivers that were hard on themselves or hard on you. And so as a child, you absorbed that pattern and you now repeat it and you don't even realize it. So those moments you're like, oh my God, I sound just like my dad or my mom. That is an example of a pattern that you've absorbed. So particularly for women, we've watched our mothers be critical about their appearance. We've watched our mothers ignore and criticize themselves in the mirror. And so we learn that from our caregivers. So that's one place. The second place that we learn it is when the drive in your life becomes fitting in. Fitting into groups in elementary, middle, high school, college, your neighborhood. That feels safe when you fit in. When you feel like you don't belong, you immediately go into a protection mechanism. And I believe a lot of the negative self-talk is a sorting hat type of mentality that we do to ourselves, going, I can't be with those people. I can't be with those people. It's safe to be with those people. And you start to see yourself and the world around you as places where you belong and places where you don't. And part of the criticism, as fucked up as it sounds, that we engage in all the time is don't be too big, don't be too loud, don't show yourself too much, don't have blue hair, don't do this, other people won't like you. It starts as a way to protect yourself from being rejected, but the truth is you develop a habit of rejecting yourself.
Right. Meanwhile, you're further divorcing yourself from who you truly are because you're not
Correct.
giving yourself permission to be yourself. That gets sublimated in favor of fitting in and, accommodating other people and acclimating your behavior around what will be approved of.
Yes. So for me, I have clearly a lifetime of beating myself up and tearing myself down and regretting decisions that I made. And in the middle of stumbling through life, instead of being like, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay, being like, you're really fucked up now, Mel. How does that help?
Right.
How does criticizing and being hard on yourself help? Okay, so now let's detour into the lane. We talked about this on the last time I was on. But let's detour into the lane of anxiety, of patterns and trauma, and talk about why people self-sabotage.
Yes.
People don't self-sabotage intentionally. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today, I'm going to screw up my life.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drink myself on the ground. I'm going to cheat on my wife. I'm going to embezzle for my company. I'm going to lie to everybody about how I'm actually feeling. I'm going to stop taking my meds. I'm going to kick the dog. Like, nobody does that. What happens is people get triggered.
And they react.
And then they fall into old patterns. And so what happens, I believe, in relationships in particular, or jobs, where you're like, this time it's going to be different, is it's different for the first 3 to 6 months when it's novel and when you're intentional and when everything counts.
But then when you got to face yourself.
Then when it becomes like part of your life, you get lazy and you slip into old patterns. Or when the stakes get really high. Let's say you're somebody who had a parent die early, or your dad abandoned the family and you're scared to love somebody. And so you fall deeply for somebody. And then what gets triggered is this tremendous fear that they're going to leave.
Yeah.
Because that's your lived experience. And if you go back to what you did as a child to cope with that fear that somebody's going to leave, that's the exact pattern that you will repeat as an adult. The only way to end this, or to try to get your arms around it, is to attack it holistically. Because so much of this happens at the subconscious level, and it gets triggered first by your nervous system, and you're not even aware of it.
Right.
And so there's a tool that I talk about in this book called high-fiving your heart.
Your heart.
Your heart, yep. So what you do, and I started doing this because I was having this incredible response from past trauma happen when the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, I started waking up feeling like something was terribly wrong. And it would start in my ankles, and it would flood up my legs and go all the way up my body, and I would feel this wave come up. My immediate thought is, something's wrong. And my heart would start to race, and I'd feel this full-on like anxiety response. And I know what that is now. So I now know that the anxiety response of waking up, which so many people do, this is really actually very, very common.
People wake up anxious.
Yes, feeling like they're in trouble, or something's wrong, or something's about to go wrong.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, if you grew up in a chaotic household,
That's normal.
yep. If you had a caregiver that gave you the silent treatment, or had mental illness, or had a drinking problem, if there was abuse
narcissistic,
in your
or,
house, yep, you did wake up.
Anxious.
Yeah, because your anxiety, by the way, was trying to protect you. It was putting you in a state of being alert so that you were ready in case something happened. But
Right.
for a ton of us, Lewis, we have lived our whole lives with a dysregulated nervous system. That's what I've come to learn during the pandemic. That I have literally lived since probably the 4th grade with my nervous system never truly resetting back to a calm, resting state. And so I started to wake up every morning in the pandemic, like so many people did. And I've always kind of had this sort of wake up and feeling like something's wrong. Like, Chris is mad. Like my first thing is like, Chris is already up, he's meditating, he's angry that I've slept 15 minutes longer than like, it's so stupid. This is how we torture ourselves. But during the pandemic, it was like a full-on anxiety response. And so I started doing this thing where I would put my hands on my heart, like right in the center of my chest. I got big mitts just like you, so you can kind of hit the whole thing. Take a deep breath, and then I would say, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. If you can say those things, in this moment, it's true. You are okay. You are safe, and you are loved, whether you're waking up in a mansion or a homeless shelter. And what would happen as I was doing this, high-fiving my heart, is you're pressing on the vagus nerve. Like that's what you're actually toning. That's the same thing that Wim Hof is teaching with the ice bath. You're toning your vagus nerve. And what the vagus nerve is, as you very well know, because you talk about it on the show, is it's the switch between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, fight or flight versus rest. So if you ever find yourself in a stressful state, give your heart a high five. Put your hands on your heart, go, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. Repeat it 111 times if you need to. What you'll feel is your nervous system start to settle. You'll feel yourself come back into your body. You'll feel your mind slow down. And you will literally take control of your nervous system. It is unbelievable. And it's also really important because, in researching this book, I talked to, the acclaimed Dr. Judy Willis, who's a incredible neuroscientist. And she explained something that I never knew, but it makes a lot of sense. If your nervous system is on edge, it's in a alert state, you're dysregulated, it's impossible for your cognitive function of your brain to work. I can give you an example. If somebody were to bust in here with a gun and try to rob us, would you be able to do a math problem?
No.
No.
I'd be like, just thinking safety.
Yes, exactly.
Save my life.
I bet the majority of people actually walk around with a nervous system that is on edge like that, particularly post-pandemic.
Yeah.
And for me, the reason why I've actually linked it all the way back. So when I was in the 4th grade, I was molested while I was sleeping by an older kid.
Wow.
And in the kind of array of things that can happen in terms of sexual abuse, mine was very tame.
Yeah.
Like it was a one-time incident. It was a kid who was slightly older than me. It was confusing, not scary. I just possumed, disassociated, don't even remember how it ended. And for a long time, I didn't even remember it. And then I remembered it when I was 28 years old. And I believe that the reason why I have always woken up in a state on edge is because of that incident.
Since the 4th grade?
Yes.
Wow.
And the thing is, Lewis, is that the morning's a trigger. If you have that stored in your body, something happened to you, something's wrong, because something was wrong, and you don't have the tools, and no kid does, to smooth out your nervous system and heal the trauma, that trauma lives in your body. Yes. And so I believe most self-sabotaging behavior that people continue to repeat is nothing but stored trauma and your best ability to cope with it when it was happening.
That's why we sabotage.
Yes. So I don't think it's intentional. I really don't. Like even somebody who's diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, they don't know that they have that. Right. Like they're not it's like such a programmed behavior. There's no, I'm going to go do that. I'm in love with this person. Let's go screw it up.
Right.
That's not what happens. And this is also why I'm telling you, I know I'm crazy passionate about this topic of this standing in front of the mirror and changing how you see yourself. If you don't get a hold of that story, I'm worthless, I'm unlovable, I screw everything up, I'm a bad person, I'm not good enough, nothing works out for me. If you don't change that and start cheering yourself forward, you will stay locked in these self-sabotaging patterns because you will act in a way that you believe it subconsciously or unconsciously. I know, it's heavy. Oh, sorry, keep sorry. From Angie, why is it so easy to fill out limiting beliefs, but almost paralyzing to figure out an alternative, think this, not that? How many of you are having trouble with this? It's very easy to see where you doubt yourself, but it's super hard to come up with the alternative thought that you're going to substitute. Well, the reason why it's hard is because you actually believe these thoughts. And these thoughts have become patterns, and they've become habits, and they've become so prevalent in your life that they're almost like the co-host of your life. If you think about it, you are the star of your life. But if the supporting actor is a limiting belief that constantly tells you that you're not good enough, or that you're not worthy, or that you'll never succeed, then it's no wonder that you believe it, because the co-star of your life is your limiting beliefs. And so it's not easy to change your limiting beliefs, but it is simple. And it begins with you identifying them and then substituting them. So the most, I think, effective way of beginning the process of teaching yourself how to identify a limiting belief and then come up with your own substitute positive belief as a way to change the negative pattern in your mind is to use the power of objectivity. So write down all your limiting beliefs. And I'm going to go through this in detail in just a second. Write down all your limiting beliefs. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. Nothing works out for me. Nobody's going to love me. Whatever the fuck it is that you think that's bringing you down. And then you can ask yourself this. What would Mel say? If Mel were sitting here across from me, what would Mel say? Another thing you can do, you can write the opposite of what you're thinking. And you may not believe it. It's okay. Because what we're doing is training you in a new pattern. And one of the things that Angie asked is she wanted to know, what were my limiting beliefs? So yesterday we sent out this workbook, the Best Decade Ever Toolkit. It's in your email. If you go to the Facebook group, Best Decade Ever with Mel Robbins, it's also listed on the files. You'll find a download for this. Check your junk email if you didn't get it. But so my limiting beliefs. So I want to have the #1 talk show of the decade. And the #1 talk show of the decade right now seems to be Ellen. And so it's interesting because a lot of my limiting beliefs, I think, are provoked by the fact that I'm the newcomer in a space that I have huge dreams of making a mark in and dominating. So one of my limiting beliefs is someone's already done it. How many of you have that one? My dream has already been done. So my substitute thought, because this feels kind of true, doesn't it? Somebody's already done it. And then my substitute thought, the think this, not that, is, well, they haven't done it my way yet. It hasn't been done by me yet. Do you see what I mean? So somebody else has done it. Okay, I get it. It hasn't been done by me yet. It'll never happen. It'll never happen. How many of you have that limiting belief? It'll never happen. My substitute belief, it hasn't happened yet. So I'm acknowledging that it hasn't happened, but I'm adding on the yet as a way to keep my mind in the positive. It didn't happen last time, so it's not going to happen this time. How many of you have that one? Yeah. This is what I say. I wasn't ready then. I'm ready now. Because it didn't happen last time because I didn't know everything I know now. I'm ready now. I don't deserve it. How many of you have this limiting belief? I don't deserve it. My thought is, if I work hard, I'll earn it. Do you see that? So it flips from a statement where I'm bashing my self-worth, I don't deserve it, to a statement about putting in the effort. If I work hard, I'll earn it. Oh, I've got this story that I'm the bad news bears, that I'm literally like the person with the worst equipment, and I'm the underdog, and I'm underfunded, and why does it have to be so hard, and why does it seem so much easier for everybody else, and blah, 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 blah. And I flip that into, I love being underestimated, and I love being the underdog. In a very weird way, as much as it exhausts me, it also empowers me. Oh, here's a specific limiting belief. How the fuck am I going to compete with Ellen? I can't compete with Ellen. Especially when she's been at it for 20 years. She has the budget of God and an army of people that are supporting her. I mean, there was something she did announced yesterday on social media that I was so like, oh, of course. And I was so jealous. She announced a partnership with Starbucks where she's encouraging people to pay for somebody's coffee using the Starbucks app behind them in line. And then take a video of it and upload it. And they're going to bring them on the show. And I was like, oh, will I ever get there? Will I ever get to do cool stuff like that? And the answer is yeah. She proves it's possible. And also, I can take the 10 years and be like, and in 20 years, I won't even recognize the cool stuff I'll be able to do if I put in the work. So take that jealousy or somebody else or whatever and say it proves it's possible. Now put in the work. So those are some of my limiting beliefs, and that's how you can do it. And by the way, if you can't do that exercise successfully on your own, post in the Facebook group and tell people this is your limiting belief. Can somebody help you come up with a substitute positive belief so that you can think this, not that? Ask somebody in your life to help you. And then what you do is when you find yourself going down the route of that negative thought, it'll never happen. You're going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use the 5-second rule to interrupt the negative belief. And then you are going to insert the positive belief. It hasn't happened yet. That's it. Just keep going.
Oh, right here. Yes. Okay. Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Yes.
Imposter syndrome.
Okay.
So currently, I'm really struggling with realizing that my hard work that I've done is mine, like my hard work, and that I do deserve the things that I'm getting, that I do deserve the awards, the recognition. So how do I deal with like falling back into that, like the hole?
Gotcha. Who can relate to this? You feel like you're not worthy of the things that you're accomplishing, or that somehow this is luck, or somebody's like giving you a break, but you didn't earn it. God, every one of you, that blows. Really. So what you're dealing with when you have imposter syndrome is you're dealing with a lack of self-worth. You literally kind of see all the things working out, but you've got this like annoying voice in your head that's saying, you don't deserve this, this is luck. How many of you have that story? This is luck, this is gonna run out, this isn't due to me. Yeah, we got to literally destroy that voice. That is from your past. And part of the reason why you have that voice, by the way, is because of racism. It's because of discrimination. It's because of childhood trauma. It's because of various experiences that you've had, where either your experiences growing up or society at large has made you feel either overtly or in a really like gross and sort of sly way like you don't belong. And so it is critical for you to start to punch that voice literally out of your head. And I'm going to give you some steps to do it, okay? The second thing that's really important is that in addition to stopping down that voice, because it's not your voice, that is somebody else's voice that your brain listened to and then started repeating. And the thing about your brain is that your brain is this really cool computer that learns patterns. And what I want you to understand is that patterns repeat unless you break and replace them. And if you have a pattern of thinking, like what Heidi has, that says, you're not worthy, you don't deserve this, luck is gonna run out, at some point, the you know what's gonna hit the fan again, brace, don't count on anything, like you didn't earn this. If you got that pattern running in your head, that is a broken pattern. You're not broken. That pattern of thinking is broken. And so the line in the sand that I want to draw starting today is you're not allowed to listen to that garbage anymore. We are going to go on a mission together to notice whenever it comes up, oh, interesting, there it is. There's that pattern. It's spinning, just like a load of laundry, right up there. And I'm going to teach you, once you recognize that pattern, You're going to use this thing that I created called the 5-second rule. You're going to count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because that shuts that down. And counting backwards, let's all do it together. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now notice when you counted, did you feel a little pressure right here? Yeah, that was me hypnotizing you. No, I'm just kidding. What you were feeling is by counting backwards, it's a little brain hack that interrupts all the garbage that's here in the interior part of your brain. This is where imposter syndrome lives, everybody. This is where anxiety is. This is where self-doubt is. This is where self-criticism is. This is where it's all stored. When you notice, oh, there's that voice again, and you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you shut it down, and then you awaken this part of your brain. This is the part of the brain that you used when you were taking the SATs. This is the part of the brain that you used when you applied for that job, when you speak up in that meeting, when you tell somebody, no, you cannot borrow my dress tonight. No. When you have boundaries, right? This is the part of the brain that gives you immediate control over what you think and do next. And so that's a really important thing. Number one, you're going to notice it. Number two, you're going to name it. So let's give that jerk in your brain a name. So Heidi, what do you want to name this thing? Like close your eyes and think about it. And everybody close your eyes and think about like that voice, that nasty, stinky, awful, skanky, gross voice in your head. I want to kind of get an image in your mind. It could be a cartoon character, it could be a human being, it could be like some little pimply, ugly person from middle school that you feel sorry for now. Okay? Yeah, because when you laugh at the voice, it doesn't have control over you like it did, right? We want to make this less serious. So what's the name you're going to give your voice?
Well, I was thinking the voice, but maybe something like, I don't know, Rocky, Spiky.
Spiky. Okay. What name do you want to give your voice, Linda?
Bob.
Bob. Okay. How do you say your name?
Sedania.
Sedania.
Yes.
Great name. What are you going to give your voice?
Maybe Peabody.
Peabody. I got it. I got it. Okay. How about you? What's your voice? Bill. Bill. Ooh, conviction. There's a human being like that talking to you. Bill, we are going to shut Bill down, okay? What about Isabella?
Broccoli.
Broccoli?
I hate broccoli.
She hates broccoli. I love that. That's great. How about you?
Josh.
Josh. Okay, great. So whenever you hear that voice, what I'm teaching you is to use the science of objectivity to distance yourself from that voice, okay? This is so important because you are not that voice. Welcome in, everybody. Actually, pull up your chairs closer. Do not sit that far away from me. Come on. Yep, let's go. You are not late. You are right on time. Let's welcome them in. Okay, yep, louder, clap louder. Super important, everybody, in life to make people feel welcome. Super important to invite people, especially other women, to have a seat at the table. And one of the things that I've learned, and then I'm going to catch you all up on where we're at, okay? One of the things I've learned is that, you know, there's so much success to go around. Have you wrapped your brain around the fact that there are, 8 billion people on this planet? There is so much success to go around. There's so much happiness. There's a tremendous amount of money to make. There's a ton of people to date. And when you focus on the fact that there is limitless possibilities for you, you're not in competition with anybody in this room. And the louder you cheer for other people, the more you invite people in, the more you will be invited in and the more cheering there will be for you. It is incredible when you can flip your mind from being jealous and competitive and small-minded, like if she's getting that, it means I don't. Oh, no, 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 no. If you see somebody getting something that you want, it's evidence that you can have it too. You're just going to get it and have it in your own way. And so you want to make it a habit to cheer for and celebrate all the women, everybody you see around you, because their success means you can have it too. And trust me, if you are a talented, hardworking, kind person, a company will make room for you. They will find another job doing that same thing. And so you focus on you. You focus on being the best you, and I promise you, all the other people around you that are having those things that you want, that's evidence you can have it too. I like to think of other people as a light on the path I'm walking down. They're shining a light that helps me walk in the direction of what I want. It's incredibly normal when you stop and pause and assess how you feel about your own life and the state of it. It's incredibly normal for you to rank it low, because most of us walk around with a very negative viewpoint about our own lives. That's number one. And that's a mindset and a perspective that we are going to change. Number two, one of the things that has helped me a lot when I get into moments in my life where I get present to disappointment, where I feel very sad, where I start to beat myself up over where I'm at in my life versus where I thought I would be. Specifically, what comes to mind is when I was facing bankruptcy and I was 40 years old and we, had 3 kids, and I thought I should be in a different place in my life. And thinking and judging my current state against where I thought I would be, it made me sink even lower. And so what you're experiencing is very normal. The fastest way to stop beating yourself up, the fastest way to stop feeling regret over where you're at in your life right now, is to literally say to yourself, I did the best I could. I did the best I could. Because guess what? If you could have done more, you would have. And so if you literally just accept where you are, you're not feeling connected, you're not where you wanted to be, you're disappointed with how your life has turned out up until this moment, that's okay. But the first thing that you need to do to free yourself of that negativity is to say, hey, if I was capable of doing more, I would have. I remember there was a moment in time where, this is a really stupid example, but there was a moment in time where a lot of our friends started buying bigger houses or joining private clubs, or they were able to take their families on very expensive vacations. And that was just something that was not a possibility for me and Chris at the time. And I remember spending years beating myself up, years comparing myself to the people that had nicer clothes, nicer cars, nicer watches, nicer vacations. And it wasn't until I said to myself, well, if I could have afforded those things, I would have bought them, maybe. If I could have afforded to join the club, I might have. I couldn't afford to do it. And there's a massive amount of freedom that comes when you just stop beating yourself up and you acknowledge that if you could have changed it sooner, you would have. But here's what's cool. Once you say that, now you can change it now. And that's what this program's about. So cool to feel the sadness, okay and normal to feel the disappointment, and then say to yourself, hey, I am where I am. If I could have done more, I would have. And now it's time to move on, because guess what? You can do more. You signed up for this program. You're taking your life and the things that you want to change about it very seriously. And the skills that we're going to teach you are going to help you. They're going to help you free yourself from the mental jail. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you spend the next year, which many of you were going to, you were going to spend the next year telling yourself, my life sucks. I should have done something sooner. You are going to spiral in your own head as you beat yourself up over and over and over again. And that's got to stop. The reason why you haven't changed your life to date, you want to know why? It's because your mindset has blown. It's because you live up here. You don't live out in the world, you live up here. And up until this moment, up here has been a very negative place. And I guarantee you, if you were to put your own thoughts in someone else's mind, you know what you would say to me? Well, there's no way in hell Mary would lose that weight if she thought the things that I thought, because I'm constantly saying to myself, I'm not good enough, I'm not this, I'm not capable, I should have done it last year, why didn't I do this sooner? The more you think like that, the more stuck you're going to stay. And so that's why it's critical to acknowledge that the reason why you haven't changed sooner and the reason why your life is in the state that it's in is because of how you think. How you think is stopping you from taking action. You're convinced that you're not good enough. You're convinced that it's too late. You're convinced that other people are going to judge you. And I'm here to tell you it's total baloney. So what we're going to talk about is confidence. What is it? Because a lot of us don't understand it. I know I didn't understand it. I had not the real confidence, I had the fake kind. You know, the really bossy, annoying kind, where it was really driven by insecurity. What we want to talk about is real confidence. The other thing we're going to talk about is the habit of self-doubt. The habit of self-doubt. So believe it or not, self-doubt is a habit. It's a behavior, a thinking pattern that you repeat over and over, and then it becomes automated. And when I can get you to understand that anxiety, worry, procrastination, self-doubt, they are all habits, then I can show you using science how you can break them. And then everything changes. And it all comes back to these 5-second decisions. If you had more confidence, how would your business and life change for the better? I'm going to tell you how mine had when I finally learned what confidence is and what it isn't. Number one, I know how to say no. How many of you have a hard time saying no? You have clients you can't stand. You have people that work for you that drain you. The ability to align your goals with values and actions. Fearless negotiator. Fearless. Greater self-control. By the way, let me stop there for a second because I believe that in today's world, this is the number one skill for you. Self-control. And we're going to give you tools today that are going to give it to you. You're going to make a lot more money and you're going to be a happier human being. Absolutely. And I'm going to show you how to do it. We can talk about change all you want, but I'm the kind of person that's about real advice for real people, and that's going to require some real action. So as I'm talking, I want you to notice what are the physical sensations, the feelings that come up in your body. When I ask you, how would your life change if you had more confidence, and you have an answer, do you feel yourself shrinking? Do you feel yourself talking yourself out or raising your hand? Because if I can get you to start to isolate that pattern and that habit simply in how you respond to whether or not you're going to answer this question, if I can break that right there so that you learn to try, I almost fell off. Oh good, there's a thing. You learn to try, thank you. I'm going to crowd surf right now. You got me? Okay. Then you can bring that anywhere. I'm into experiential learning because, I got dyslexia, I'm ADD, it's really hard for me to read and retain. So if I feel it, if I have to do it, then it sticks. So let's talk about the myths and the truths about confidence, okay? Number one, confidence is a personality trait. Total baloney. Total baloney. Lots of extroverted people that are really bossy and annoying like I used to be, although I might still be a little annoying, but really insecure. Really insecure. There's a lot of introverted folks that feel uncomfortable putting themselves out there, but they really believe in what they're saying. So confidence is not a personality trait. Confidence is fixed. That's not true. You could be the most confident person in the world, and the person that you love leaves you. That's going to rock confidence. You could be a really great business person and then make a really bad decision and blow it all. That's going to rock you. Number three, the confidence starts with belief. This is where I go against so many other people. I actually believe that this is not true. I think that thinking positive thoughts will certainly make you feel better in the moment, but it's not going to create change that you want. That you can be a negative, frustrated, depressed, anxiety-ridden son of a gun, and you can still take action. And that taking action is key. You see, here's the truth about confidence. First of all, it's not a skill, it's a trait. And that's good news. It's not a trait. Oh, it's a skill, it's not a trait. See, dyslexia on full display. I was not lying about that. Confidence is a skill, it's not a trait. Confidence is situational. So there are areas of your life where you are confident, and then there are areas of your life where you have a ton of doubt. And here's the most important one. Confidence begins with action. Now, this is not something that I made up, and in a second I'm going to show you the science. I want you to write this quote down. If you have a problem that can be solved with action, you don't have a problem. So a lot of us talk about the problems that we have, but they're actually not problems. We're stuck in one of the traps of self-doubt. And that's what we're going to be talking about in just a second. But first, I want to show you how you build confidence. And let's look at the research, because there's really, really strong research on this. If you want more information on this, just Google the confidence competency loop. the confidence competency loop. Let me show you what this is. So basically, if you try something, he's either going to succeed or he's going to survive. Now, what happens if you survive it? Like you really blow it, but you survive it. Well, you learn something. And then when you learn something, what are you doing? You're building skills. And when you're building skills at something, what are you gaining? Competency. All competency means is that by learning something over and over and over again, you have to do less thinking about it, so you don't have time to get anxious. Just like me in the bed. I had time to lay there, so I was thinking about all my problems. The more you do something, the more that you try, the more you build skill and competency, and that is where confidence comes. So I want you to walk out of here not only with the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Catch yourself when you feel yourself shrinking. Catch yourself when you feel yourself editing yourself or silencing yourself. I also want you to walk out of here with a brand new definition of confidence, which I'm going to give to you in a second. Because check this out. All of us are going to feel failure. Let me show you what happens when you are afraid of failing, when you're fearing it. First of all, you're going to start thinking, aren't you? Ooh, I don't know if I want to give a speech. I might be really bad at it. And then I don't know what I want to talk about. And I'm not really sure. Am I ready? Am I not ready? Should I wear the tennis shoes? Should I wear the heels? Should I not do this? Should I do this? And then, of course, as you think, you're going to start to doubt yourself. And this becomes this loop. This is what researchers call a habit loop. We're going to get more into this. This is a chunk of behavior that gets encoded in this part of your brain. You see, you're not a doubter. You have a habit of doing it. The same is true, by the way, when you feel nervous. You start overthinking. The same is true when you start feeling insecure. The same is true when you feel like a fake. The same is true when you start to get overwhelmed. The same is true when you start to fear rejection. All of those things, normal. It's normal to be afraid of being rejected. It sucks. It's normal to feel nervous. These feelings are normal. Acting nervous is a choice. There's only one way to break a habit loop. You have to insert a different behavior. Pretty neat, huh? See, we spend way too much time with the red arrows. I got to be fearless. I can't ever worry. It's terrible to feel like a fake. No, it's not. It's normal. In fact, you're going to. When you first relaunch your eco-adventure company, you're going to feel like a fake. That is normal. Acting like one is a choice. So the only way to break the habit of self-doubt and thinking is to take action. And what action are you going to take? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that, if you do it over and over, puts a new habit in place. This is how you build confidence, one 5-second decision at a time. Let me show you a little bit more science. So right here is your brain. And the red part right there, that's the basal ganglia. That's where all your habit loops get encoded. Everything that you do that you don't think about. Worrying. Let me give you another example. When you put on your pants, do you put your right or your left leg in first? You're thinking about it, aren't you? You don't when you pull your jeans on. It's a pattern of behavior that is right here. Here's the other problem. This is also where worry is. This is where anxiety is. This is where depression is. This is where self-doubt is. It's all right here. This is where procrastination is. What happens when you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is you activate the prefrontal cortex, which you know is the part of the brain that you need for strategic thinking, for acting with courage, for changing. So the truth is, in 5 seconds, you can change anything, and that changes everything. And I want you to understand that to feel more confident about the things that you want to do in your next chapter, it begins with being willing to try. So if confidence is the decision to try, because I also like the idea of you not thinking that the big topics like confidence are about how you feel. I want to make them action-based, because you can't control how you feel at times, but you can always choose how you act. So if confidence is the decision to try, here's the definition of self-doubt. It's the decision not to. See, one of the things that I've come to realize is that when you talk about self-doubt, it's such a big term that you tend to think that it's just nothing that you can control. But what if you started to consider that self-doubt is actually a decision?
it's going to give you a lot of power. Now remember, I told you that your doubts create mountains and your actions move them. So let me show you the 4 traps of self-doubt. This is really incredible stuff. So the 4 traps of self-doubt, because I just said confidence is about an action, self-doubt is a decision not to try, and there are 4 ways, 4 actions that we all engage in that are you deciding not to try. Here they are: hesitating, hiding, hypercritical, and helplessness. So I'm going to unpack these for you, and I want you to be thinking for a minute. I want you to think about that next chapter. And as I roll these out, I want you to think about, are you stuck in this? And by the way, I can relate to every single one of these. So when I think about the next chapter of getting into throwing events and creating more and more courses and doing bigger and bigger things, I can see myself in every single one of these, okay?
It's more important to get it done than to make it perfect. And when we do live streams like Coffee Talk in a way that actually works, which would mean somebody would be here supporting me, oftentimes we don't get them done because we're always on the move. And so this morning I'm doing it solo. This is certainly not perfect. It's not the way I like to do it. Clearly, if I'm in my PJs and we got people running around and I can't even find my coffee and I don't have anything printed out and I'm not even organized, but we're getting it done. And I think it's important for you to see that even, that especially those of us that are out there in the world doing big things, that one of the reasons why we're able to do big things is because we have trained ourselves to just push forward even when things are not the way that you want them to be going, to keep your cool, to roll with the punches even when you don't have the support that you need. And so, I had something happen yesterday. I was in the middle of giving a speech. So imagine this, you're on stage, you are 20 minutes into your speech, you have 40 more minutes to go, you have 30 more slides to go to, which is what was happening at that point. And all of a sudden, my laptop dies. I mean, just blank, you guys. So I've got an entire audience. I'm through the first third of my speech. I have 2/3 of the speech to go, and my speech is a story that has a ton of videos and photos in it. And my laptop died. And what had happened is the AV team had plugged the laptop into a podium that had no power in it. So my laptop was set up correctly. It was plugged in, but it was plugged into something that had absolutely no power source. So over the course of the hour before the tech check to when I was on the stage, the laptop had run out of juice. And so all of a sudden, here I am, completely cold laptop. I just, had this moment where I thought, the first thing in my mind was, holy cow, what am I going to do for the next 40 minutes? And I could feel my stomach start to go crazy and the butterflies to kick in. And it just, wow. I was extremely panicked for about a second. And then I was like, okay, use the tools. Don't get nervous, get excited, because you can show everybody what looks like in front of a live audience to have a massive technical breakdown and not lose your cool. And so I made a joke about it. The AV team ran up. I said, look, you guys have no power here, so take it back there, get it plugged in, and I'll talk for 2 or 3 minutes while you get this thing set up. Now, meanwhile, I'm thinking, while I'm talking to a live audience, what if they don't get this set up? What am I going to do? How am I going to fill the 40 minutes when the whole speech is not only anchored in the story, but it's anchored in all of these photographs and proof of people's stories from around the world? And so I'm like, don't panic, use the tools, Mel. And then all of a sudden the guy shouts out, what's your password? Because my screen was locked. So then I thought, okay, we're going to get this done, not a problem. It took about 5 minutes for things to get back up and running, and it was one of the longer 5-minute periods of my life, but I got through it. And one of the reasons why I got through it is because I've trained myself to roll with the punches. That's what I've trained myself to do.
You also tend to get a lot of positive
emotion and praise when you're achieving those things. At least I did too. And I think that's why I chased it so much. I had fused the doing with being lovable, the achieving with being worthy. And so as I walk into the bathroom that second morning and the sort of profound nature of what was unfolding started to hit me, I have this second epiphany as I'm brushing my teeth. And that is this. Every morning, there are two people in the bathroom. There's you, and there's a human being in the mirror who needs you. They are trying so hard. They are waiting for you to wake up and to realize that they're there. They need your encouragement. They need your support. They need your love. They are so tired of you picking them apart and thinking about all the things that are going wrong. And as I put my toothbrush down, I remembered the fact that yesterday, the day before, I had been researching, how do I need to change right now because I have all these people on my team? How am I going to show up for my family? And I found this piece of research from Harvard that says that if you take just less than a minute of intentional reflection about how you're going to show up for the people that you're leading, and this could apply to your family, anybody, it changes your focus, your productivity, it changes your mood, it changes how you show up, your ability to impact. And for whatever reason in that moment, it all fused together. And I thought, well, what if I do that for me? And I asked myself a question I had never asked myself before. And it was this. Who do you need me to be today? Like I asked the woman in the mirror, who do you need me to be today? How can I show up for you? And, what kind of popped in my mind that morning was like, well, it'd be nice if you were kinder to me because I'm trying really hard. And then the next one was, it'd be great if you could muster up some optimism here. Having fun today. It's like, hell, throw me a lifeline, Mel. And as I thought about it, I then went and I raised my hand and I sealed it with this high five. And something like, it just felt like this fusion with the person in the mirror. And that's when I really got it. I got that this is so much deeper and more profound because what I'm actually doing is I'm fulfilling my fundamental emotional needs. I'm seeing myself. I am meeting myself where I am. I am affirming my unique need. And I am celebrating myself exactly where I am right now, whether it's challenging, whether it's exhilarating. I am with myself right in that moment in a way that I don't know if I had ever been.
I think it's really, pivotal. And I want to reiterate this because I think it's such a great point of understanding. Back to that onion analogy again, when you said there's two people, right? And I could go as far to say that so many of us have different masks, different selves, right? The core, like we were just talking about, is who we really are. Mm-hmm. Though so many times in our day to day, we are showing up in all of these different ways, playing all of these different roles. And there is an us that we need to, and the journey becomes about connecting back to. So a lot of us are kind of at odds with even ourselves in so many moments because we're so practiced at showing up in all of these other ways that we've lost so much sight of the authentic core within each of us. And what you're also illustrating, I think that's so important, is the practice of that reconnection, right? And many of us start by not knowing, not seeing ourselves, not knowing what there is even to see or to self-express. For me, I share this story often. When I came to the awareness that I, like you and like many of us, filter the whole world through everyone else and what their needs may be, I had a big gaping hole of knowledge. I didn't know myself. I didn't really know that person in the mirror. I did know that we do, I believe, as humans universally, I don't care where you're signing onto this live right now around the globe, we have at our core the desire to be seen, to be heard, to be just in full self-expression, and for that to be enough. Yet I didn't know who that person was. So I share this because I do want to speak to the people who, as we begin to look in the mirror and for a lot of us, it might just be a concept. Okay, there's an authentic self in there where I don't know where that person is. I don't know what that person needs yet. And that's when we begin the journey to explore. Because I, like many of us, didn't know at first, was profoundly uncomfortable with even beginning to ask those questions. What do I need right now? Can I just be enough in this moment? And it is the question that sets us off into the journey. And I share that because I know a lot of us, we want to know the answers, or we think we should, and then we shame ourselves out of even taking the journey into exploring those. But for me, I'll share, that's how my journey began, not knowing at all, with incredible discomfort, even around stopping to even ask myself those questions. And of course, like you said, it does not happen overnight. I say there's no light switch here. Oh, I heal now. And again, I want to highlight the practice of it, right? Because there's concepts, there's books, there's, people and teachers and tools and techniques, and they're all in theory until, like I say, we bridge the gap from theory into action. And that's what I've always resonated so much with your work, from the 5 second, this idea of the tool. How do I practically apply this? And now, of course, the high five habit. How do I turn this idea into a daily action that can actually help me create the change that I'm looking for, to A, reconnect with that person beneath, and B, to over time, grow to love them. Over time, grow to love them.
For those who say, okay, I'm going to acknowledge this is negative. I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling a funk. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And now, how do they start to shift for those that are ready?
Okay, great. So if you are sick and tired of beating yourself up, if you are sick and tired of focusing on what's not working, if you are sick and tired of the self-doubt and the self-criticism and the self-hatred, this is a game changer. And I only learned this 18 months ago. So despite all of my success, Koya, on the outside, being me was this weird mix of having positive outbursts of energy and enthusiasm in the moment, combined with a deep, relentless, grinding internal voice that was critical, that had a lot of self-hatred, that was constantly making me feel like the world was aimed at me and that I was screwing everything up.
Yeah.
That was my experience. And I think that is the majority of people's experiences. That no matter how good it looks on the outside, the majority of human beings who are adults either can't look at themselves in the mirror, and this was a huge wake-up call in researching the high five habit. 50% of men and women, and this is not a blind, double research, PhD-backed study. This is looking at hundreds of thousands of people that are taking the high five challenge. This is looking at, the millions of people that follow me and the feedback that we're getting. 50% of the people that first try to do this high five habit, which I'll explain in just a second, report that they can't even look at themselves in the mirror. There is so much self-hatred, or disgust, or judgment. It is so sad. And I am on a mission to wake everybody up and to teach everybody a fundamental, simple habit that unlocks science in your brain and in your nervous system to help you break the habit of self-rejection and self-hatred and self-doubt.
Right.
And that's where the high five habit comes in. And so the high five habit is very simple. First, I'm going to explain it, and then we can kind of unpack it however you think will benefit everybody that's listening. So all you're going to do is you're going to stand in front of the bathroom mirror, and I want this to become part of your morning routine. And there's lots of science around why I want you to do in the morning. We can get to that in a minute. But you're just going to stand in front of your bathroom mirror, and I want you to take a moment, and I want you to look at the human being in the mirror. And that right there is a complete change from what you're doing right now. Because what you're doing right now when you stand in front of the mirror and you brush your teeth, or you stand in front of the mirror and you get ready for your day, is you either ignore yourself, you won't even look at yourself. That's a form of self-rejection.
Right.
Or you focus on all the things that you need to fix. Your hair, your makeup, the things you don't like. And so you start your day with a habit in your morning routine of rejecting yourself. And that habit of self-rejection has created the insecurity that you feel.
Yeah.
That habit of self-rejection is what drives your need for validation externally. That habit of self-rejection is why you think you're only worthy if somebody else says that you're worthy. And so the high five habit is all about using science to break the habit of self-rejection and replace it with a habit of self-empowerment, self-acceptance, self-compassion, self-love. And here's how you do it. You're just going to stand there. You're going to look at the person in the mirror. And notice I'm not saying reflection.
Right.
There are two people in the bathroom every morning. There's you and there's a human being in the mirror who has been waiting for you to wake up and realize that they're there. They are trying. They are doing their best. They are so beaten down by your relentless criticism. They need you. They need you to see the positive. They need you to compliment them. They need to be kind to them.
Yeah.
And so I want you to take that in for a minute because you're staring at your soul, at your spirit, at your essence, at your humanity. And most of us have never actually considered that. I hadn't. And then what I want you to do is I want you to just reflect for a second as you look at that human being. What does she or he or they need from me today? Something you've never asked yourself. Because right now, what your morning routine is that you drift into your day and you start thinking about everybody else. What do you need to do for everybody else?
Right.
What's all the things on your to-do list? You've skipped the most important person, and that's the human being in the mirror. And I want you to literally stop and ask yourself, what do she, he, or they need from me? And it might be, I need you to have some freaking fun. I need you to stop being a bitch. I need you to be a little more positive here. I need you to reach out to some people.
Yeah.
And ask for some help. Something will pop in your mind.
Yeah.
And then take a deep breath. And then as cheesy as it sounds, I want you to raise your hand and I want you to high five that human being in the mirror. And something crazy is going to happen. So this is why this is so revolutionary. Regardless of how weird the high five habit feels, regardless of how much you may resist it, regardless of how kind of corny it is, you will immediately feel your mood shift because your brain doesn't know the difference between high-fiving somebody else and high-fiving yourself.
That's what I love about it. I love that it's so simple and silly because we need to play more.
Yes, yes. And so when you give somebody a high five, Koya, what does the high five communicate?
Yes. We got this. You're awesome. Just love.
Yes.
Basically, it communicates love.
It does. You're right. And it communicates a lot of different forms of love.
Yeah.
So it could be a high five that's really encouraging, I see this is hard. You got this.
Yeah.
It could be shake it off. Keep going. It could be I love you. It believe in you. We're together. It's partnership. It's like this massive, wonderful feeling of love. You have never high-fived somebody and thought, I hate you. I hope you fail.
Yeah.
You're ugly. You're worthless. You've never done it. And so you can stand before yourself in the bathroom mirror and hate the person you see. Yeah. But the second you physically raise your arm and you do the motion that you've done your whole life, your brain shuts off all thinking and it taps into the programming in your mind that says, I believe in you, I love you, I see you, keep going.
Yeah.
And then you feel this boost in your mind because, and in your mood, every time somebody else is giving you a high five, your brain has released dopamine. That's why high fives feel so good.
Yeah.
The other reason why a high five feels so good is because your nervous system recognizes it as somebody celebrating you. And so you get this affirming life energy that jolts through your body. And so your brain, again, and your nervous system doesn't know the difference between me high-fiving you and me high-fiving myself. So even on my lowest days, Koya, when I high-five myself, I get a dopamine drip.
Yeah.
And I get this nervous system boosting the energy. And that's why it feels so good. We are using programming in you and aiming it back at you so that you have the benefit of belief, of self-love, of positive mental programming, of dopamine, and of a jolt through your nervous system. It's freaking bananas.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that it's so simple. I love giving myself a high five. And I love something that you say. You say, and I don't know if this is your quote or something from someone else, but you say, the way you view yourself is the way you view the world.
It's true.
That's powerful.
It's true. Well, let's talk about people pleasing. So many of us struggle with people pleasing. Well, people pleasing for a long time, I thought people pleasing was about like making other people like me. That's what you're doing, but that's actually not the source of people pleasing. People pleasing is not about the need to be liked by other people.
Right.
People pleasing results from you not liking yourself. So people pleasing is about you and your self-hatred and your insecurity.
Wow.
Yes.
That's going to wake a lot of people up.
What did you just get from that?
People pleasing is more about how you feel about yourself than how you feel about others.
Correct. Because here's the thing. If you like yourself, even though you're not where you are, even though if you like yourself, even if you don't like where you are in your life right now,
Yeah.
if you can still look in the mirror and see a person who's trying, a person who's worthy of support, a person that you're going to root for, a person that you like, because you deep down know, even though you're way more than you want to, even though you don't have the money you want, even though you're not in a relationship yet, whatever it is that you've been bashing yourself for, if you can look in the mirror and see somebody you genuinely like because you know deep down they're a good person and they're trying and they've survived a lot and they are a person that's worthy of being liked because you know who they are at their core. If you can feel that way about yourself and treat yourself that way by giving yourself a high five, that's how you demonstrate that you like yourself. When you go out into the world, if somebody doesn't like you, it does not take away from the fact that you still like yourself.
Right.
If you treat yourself with respect and somebody out in the world disrespects you, that will not change the fact that you still treat yourself with respect.
Right.
The core problem is that most of us look in the mirror and reject the person that we see. And then we bring that insecurity out into the world. And we are looking at lovers and bosses and friends and family to then make us feel secure or make us feel loved, when the root problem is we don't love and like ourselves. And so we got to bring all of that back in house.
Right.
Using the high five habit, you can show yourself, demonstrate to yourself, and practice what a person who likes and loves and respects themselves does, which is they wake up every day and they treat themselves with loving kindness. And the best part for me about the high five habit is you actually don't have to say a word. And in fact, I recommend that for the first 5 days, you don't. Because your self-critic and your brain programming is so negative and relentless, and it's been in there for decades, that I want you to feel the benefit of the science.
Right.
I want you to just stand there and look the human being in the eyes in the mirror. And I want you to raise your hand and notice what you're feeling. You can't help but crack a smile after you do this for a couple days because of the dopamine.
Right.
You can't help but shift how you see yourself because of the nervous system wiring. We've had reports back now from people who have said this really interesting thing. They've said, you know how like can you recall a time in your life where you actually remember getting high fives?
Yeah.
When was it? Can you
Yeah,
describe it? Put us at the scene.
basketball.
Okay, put us right at the scene.
Oh, yeah. So playing basketball, I mean, that is the best place for high fives. High school, I mean, for a whole year, I rode the bench. But when I actually started getting rebounds, making points, high five. The more high fives I got, the better I got because it boosted my confidence in myself.
Correct. And, there's a study actually with the NBA that proves this.
Yeah.
So they took a look at NBA teams. Researchers did. I think this was in 2011. There's a massive article in the Wall Street Journal about this, as well as a published academic study. They looked at NBA teams. And do you know you can predict what teams are going to have the winningest record at the end of the season by looking at behavior in the preseason? And the behavior that predicts whether or not an NBA team is going to have a winning season or not is the number of pats on the back, fist bumps, and high fives that a team gives one another in the preseason.
Wow.
Because just as you said, based on your lived, felt experience, playing basketball, being in high school, being on a team, feeling the encouragement, the momentum, the support. High fives aren't gestures. They communicate trust and partnership and belief. So when you high five a teammate, you're communicating, we're in this. I believe in you. Shake off that shot. Even though you're on the bench, you're a valued member of this team. Keep trying, keep going. And the corresponding data about the teams with the worst record was also true. They had the least number of pats on the back and fist bumps and high fives. Why? Well, when every player's in it for themselves, it creates distrust and selfishness.
Right.
And so by high-fiving yourself in the mirror, you can create that same partnership with yourself, and that same momentum starts to get created every single morning when you send yourself into the game of life every day, the way you would send yourself back into the game of basketball after having a team huddle.
I love that. I love that. And it actually brings me to one of the most important pillars of Get Loved Up, which is spirituality. And I kind of want to dive into spirituality with you because I feel like giving that high five is bringing people back into divine alignment with themselves.
Okay, say that again, because that is exactly right.
Bringing people, giving that high five is bringing people back into alignment with themselves, with spirit, with the universe, with God. Because that negative self-talk is taking you out of alignment with love, out of alignment with spirit. And so that one act, because I know you say habits, I say ritual. We have so many different language, but what I feel when I give myself a high five and when I practice that positive self-talk is alignment with spirit.
1,000%. So all of the negative talk, like remember, let's go back to the two human beings in the bathroom, you and the human being in the mirror.
Yeah.
The negative self-talk stands between you two. And when you go to raise your hand and high five yourself, it is a moment of divinity with yourself, with your universe, with the spirit, with God, with whatever you believe in. You will feel that energy if you allow yourself to. You will feel yourself coming home. You will feel yourself stepping back into alignment with who you truly are in your essence, which is a being that is worthy of love, a being that is worthy of support simply because you exist. Like today is my 53rd birthday. And when I think about birthdays, right, what are you actually celebrating?
Right.
You're celebrating life. You're celebrating your breath. You're celebrating the fact that you're still here. And there is something divine about that. And every single morning, if you make the high five habit a ritual that starts your day, you are also bringing the celebration of your life and your existence into your morning. And the thing that I love about this, because, you know, I love gratitude and I love meditation, and these are extraordinary practices that with documented benefit. You know, I'm married to somebody who's a Buddhist meditation instructor and a certified yoga instructor.
I love Chris.
Yeah, Chris is just awesome. And you know, interesting thing about Chris, though, is that here he is practicing every single day. He is a disciplined guy, right? Meditating daily for probably 8 years. Okay. Meditation teaches you self-awareness, and it teaches you how to not react to thoughts. It doesn't change the default opinion that you have about yourself. Gratitude, if you look at what most of us write down when we practice gratitude, it is external. It is rarely something within you. And what I love about the high five habit and why this simple ritual is so divine and spiritual is because it is about reconnection with self. It is and will. What I've experienced after doing this now for over a year is when I step into the bathroom, I don't even need to high five myself. I still do.
Right.
But what's happened over this repetitive ritual of raising my hand in celebration, encouragement, empathy, support, and love to myself every morning, no matter where I am, where I'm waking up, how I feel, just part of how I begin the day, is over time, because of the science, it has reset my mind.
Right.
I don't even see a person I would ever criticize. I don't even see my face. I just see this human being that I love.
That's beautiful. And I think with meditation, with the high five, with these rituals, it gives us the time to come back to center. And people use things in different ways, but it is the opportunity to come back to center, to kind of crowd out the noise.
Our audience is primarily millennials, and we love to, hey, let's call it for what it is. We love things instantly, right? We're in an on-demand world. So you're saying that people that take part in this challenge and, you know, high five, even yourself, right, who live this out, you're seeing instant results.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's absolutely
instant.
incredible.
It's absolutely instant, and it's documented, and it's scientifically backed. And that's why this idea is so freaking exciting. And it's why this book is exploding, because people are experiencing it instantly. Like, I literally was just on the Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne and DJ Envy and Angela have all now tried. They're posting about it nonstop. Their audience is posting about it. The research is crazy. And let me explain why, because there's so much common sense behind this. So let's just talk about a high five. When you high five somebody else, Matt, what does just the high five that you give to a teammate or a friend, what are you communicating when you high five somebody else?
Oh, great job. Congrats. Something along those lines.
Correct. If a teammate blows a goal or a field kick or a free throw and you high five them, it's like, shake it off. I still believe in you. We got this. Get your head back in the game. Come on now. It says, I believe you. I love you. All this stuff. It's this encouraging, empowering, universal gesture. Even if it's in a culture that you grew up in a culture where high fives are not that common, you've still seen them in sporting events. You've still seen teachers giving it to kids in videos that go viral. You have seen these gestures of encouragement. So this is the power of the high five habit. The programming is already in your brain, and it's also in your nervous system. Have you ever high-fived somebody and thought, I hate you?
No, I have not.
Have you ever high-fived somebody and thought, I hope you lose?
No, never.
Fuck off. No, of course not. It is neurologically impossible to think something negative while you're high-fiving yourself. Your brain is not designed to do it, because your brain for your entire life has seen this gesture and gone, oh, we do that to people we love. We do that to people we believe in. We do that to people we celebrate. And so reason number one, why the high five habits results are instant, is because you're not actually trying to learn anything new. You are unlocking programming that exists in your mind, and you're just aiming it at yourself. That's why it works instantly. The second reason why it works instantly is because your brain doesn't know the difference between me high-fiving Matt or me high-fiving Mel Robbins, because your brain recognizes the high five as a habit loop. The physical motion is what triggers the habit of self-acceptance, celebration, encouragement, and love. So the second your hand goes up to do the gesture, you can't think. Your subconscious mind takes over and brings forward all the programming that it has attached to the physical action of a high five through your whole life. And one of the things that the world's leading experts on the brain have said conclusively is that when anybody else has ever given you a high five, your brain gives you a dopamine release. When you give yourself a high five, you give yourself a dopamine release. Dopamine helps you focus. It makes you feel better. It's the happy chemical in your brain. And it is the same thing that releases when, you have an orgasm, when you do drugs, when you win the lottery. You are literally releasing dopamine for yourself when you high five yourself. That's what increases your mood. That's why a lot of people laugh when they do it for the first time. The other thing that your body does for you naturally because of programming is your nervous system is wired for celebratory energy. And, what do you do instinctually when you cross a finish line, Matt?
You get excited.
Yeah, you raise your hands, right? What do you do when you wave somebody? You raise your hands. Hug, raise your hands. Your favorite team scores, you raise your hands. High five, you raise your arms.
Right.
It's celebratory. So when you go to do it to yourself, even on the lowest mornings,
your nervous system gives you a little jolt. You know, you might not be like, yeah, this is awesome that I'm going to go into work and have to fire somebody today. But your nervous system goes, come on now, pick it up. You're going to be okay. You can do this. Like, it's absolutely incredible. This is why it works immediately for people.
Okay, so even just the physical of raising your hand up is triggering that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's incredible. Now, Mel, I need you to talk to me about the word habit, because that word scares me. It does.
Why?
Truthfully.
Why?
You know why? So here's the thing. How I achieved, and we talked about 75 hard, right? How I achieved that and how I have achieved other goals in the past is I've made them public. Because if I make them public and I put that in front of the public eye, I myself, I can't let myself fail, right? If I do something behind closed doors and I try to make a habit of meditating or reading every day or whatever, exercise, whatever it is, I fail at it. I'm a human, right? That word scares, and I know I'm not the only one. So what's your advice? What's the secret to actually making it a habit?
Well, I'm going to say two things about this. Number one, you actually do practice the science of habits because you have an Uber habit, and your Uber habit is make the shit public that I am afraid I'm not going to do. That's a habit.
It is. You're right.
Okay. So habits do work for you. You just have one that works for everything. And so you use it. The second thing I'm going to say about habits is that most people focus on the wrong part of a habit loop. So every habit is comprised, as you probably know, of 3 required elements. There's a trigger, there's a behavior pattern you repeat, and then there is a reward. Okay. Most people think a habit is repeating the behavior, when the truth is the real power of habits and the ability to make them stick is understanding the power is in the trigger and in the reward, not in the behavior pattern. So let's take the high five habit, for example. I recommend and for a number of reasons, which we can unpack, that you make the high five habit a absolutely critical, non-negotiable part of your morning routine. I want you to do it right after you brush your teeth, because we know based on research, when you stack a new habit like the high five in the mirror with an old habit that you already have in your subconscious brain, brushing your teeth, it's easier for your brain to pair those two together. So that's number one. Number two, just hoping that you remember to do it isn't enough when it comes to habits. You need a trigger. The trigger is the thing that cues your mind to do it. So I recommend that people put just a Post-it note on the mirror. And the Post-it note could be blank. It could have a tracing of your hand. It could say high five. It could say, I love you. It could say, I believe in you. It could be anything as a message on this. It could say, go get them. It could say, today's going to be a great day. It could be, let's do this. Stick a Post-it note on your mirror, and the Post-it note becomes an environmental trigger. So you're brushing your teeth. You're like, oh, there's a Post-it note. I got a high five. That's the powerful part. The gesture is just the behavior I'm repeating. The reward in the case of the high five habit is the dopamine releasing, the fact that I'm going to feel good. Now, here's how the habit loop gets locked in. You'll know that you are really, truly creating a powerful habit when you see the trigger and you don't think about the behavior, you think about the reward. So when I see the Post-it note on my mirror, I don't think about high-fiving myself. I think about how good it feels when I'm done. I'll give you another example. I always reward my exercise with a treat. This may sound a little odd, but I always reward my exercise with a treat. So I'm going to explain the habit loop that I have for exercise. So remember, you always need a trigger. This is the cue that makes you remember to do it. It could be an alarm in your phone. It could be anything. For exercise, my trigger for exercising is I always lay my exercise clothes out on the floor of my closet.
Okay.
That way they are there like a freaking trap. I don't have to think about exercising. I wake up, I walk into the closet. There are this morning it was red tights and a black exercise jog top thing and a sweatshirt and some sticky socks because I went to like a bar class. And I immediately see the trigger on the floor, no thinking involved. And I go, fuck, I literally don't want to exercise. Fuck, there they are. So there's my exercise clothes. I don't have to think. It's a trigger. Damn it. There's my habit loop begins, the trigger. Do you know what I think about? I don't think about the bar class. I immediately think about the breakfast burrito that I'm eating afterwards, because my reward for going to that particular bar class is to go to this little like breakfast taco place right next door. If I'm going to go to yoga, I think about a latte that I'm going to have at a coffee shop nearby. Your brain literally skips over the pattern and goes straight to the thing that you're going to get. And for those of you that have a favorite coffee shop that you go to after the gym, I guarantee you while you're in the gym, you're thinking about the coffee you're going to order. That's the reward. Your brain seals this into a loop. The trigger makes my brain think, oh my God, I'm about to get the coffee. And you forget about the gym piece, which is so cool because if you think about going to the gym, you're like, I don't feel like it.
Now, taking all of this into consideration, if on a subconscious level, we don't feel like we deserve that high five, is that just like a participation trophy? I know you talk about it in the book. I'm just curious for the people that are listening, and obviously for myself.
No,
here
this
too.
is profound. This is the most profound part of the whole thing.
Okay.
Actually, this is the biggest thing of the high five habit because you don't think you deserve it.
Right.
You have been trained to believe a lie. And the lie is that unless you have the $1 million in the bank or the world's greatest love affair or an incredible body, or you're driving that car, or you live in that neighborhood, or you've sold your company, unless you have that thing, you haven't earned a high five. Mm-hmm. And I want you to break that belief apart and to understand that you deserve and need, and this is the most important part, you need support, empowerment, and celebration every single day just to get through the day. You do not earn this. The very fact that you are alive and breathing is why you need a high five every day. This is not an award you get. This is a benefit of being human. And so let me explain this because the resistance is a really big thing. There are only two reactions that people have, Matt, when they hear us talking about the high five habit and they take the dare we're going to tell them, give us 5 fucking days. That's all we're asking. 5 lousy days. Your dreams, your happiness, your contentment, your purpose, you deserve 5 days. What if this is the one thing that's been missing? Because I believe it is. What if all of those big goals and big dreams just needed the high five habit so you knew the secret to propelling yourself toward them? What if the secret to healing your trauma? What if the secret to finally forgiving yourself for all the shit you did while you were trying to survive? What if it was the high five habit? Give me 5 lousy days to prove it to you because I know that it is. This is the thing that's been missing from every human being's life because none of us have ever been taught how to support, empower, and celebrate ourselves every step of the way. So you will either stand in front of your mirror, because this is what's going to happen. You are going to brush your teeth tomorrow morning, get the gunk out of your mouth so you don't spread bad breath everywhere. Then you're going to stand in front of your mirror. And step number 1 is the hardest part for people. Look at the human being in the mirror. That's not your reflection. There's 2 human beings in the bathroom every morning. There's you, and there's the human being in the mirror who is trying their best. And they are so tired of you beating them up. They are so tired of you focusing on the negative. They are so tired of the criticism. They need you. They need you to wake up. They need you to start being kinder and more supportive and more empowering and more encouraging. They need you. For most people, looking in the mirror is the hardest part. Based on our research, Matt, 50% of men and women don't even do that part. Can't do that part.
Why?
The reason why is every single morning when you stand before yourself, you drag your entire past in between you and your reflection.
Okay.
So if you have, survived some stuff, if you've been abused or neglected or abandoned or had your heart broken or experienced constant discrimination, bullshit, if you have been neglected, if you face poverty, all that stuff you've survived, there are so many people that look at that and see evidence that they're damaged or unworthy or unlovable, or that life is never going to work out, or you got such a late start, or that you are behind, or the odds are against you, or whatever. And so the resistance to seeing yourself or raising your hand is the fact that you are judging yourself based on your past, and you withhold the very support and love and encouragement that you need because of all the stuff you've survived. If anything, if you're still here breathing, trying to get through the day in spite of all that crap, you deserve a high five.
Right.
You got to celebrate that shit that you're still here. That's number one. The other reason why so many people cannot even look in the mirror is because of all the stuff you did. And if you're human, you have things that you regret. You've cheated, you've lied, you've stolen, you've squandered opportunity, you hurt people, you hurt yourself, all stuff you did, addiction, all of it while you were just trying to survive crap you didn't understand. Things that you would easily forgive Matt or Mel Robbins for, but you stand in judgment of yourself and you withhold that forgiveness. You withhold that compassion. You withhold that understanding that you need in order to heal. And so, not looking at yourself, Matt, that is a habit of self-rejection. And it is a part of everybody's morning routine. Because even if you can look at yourself, what we look at are the things we need to fix. What we see are the things that we think that are wrong or that we don't like. And this is everybody. And so whether you ignore yourself or can't look at yourself or you pick yourself apart in the mirror, this is a habit of self-rejection. And then you practice that every morning. This is a habit that's gotten so deeply rooted in your brain. This is why you step out into the world and you see everything you're doing wrong at work. This is why you have things to say, but you don't share them, which is another form of self-rejection. This is why you have boundaries that you need to express with people, but you won't, another form of self-rejection. This is why you morph and mold yourself to fit in with the cool people, another form of self-rejection. And so you just reject yourself all day long. And so back to your original question about validation and bringing it in-house. What I really want you to do with the high five habit is I want you to have an awakening. I want you to realize that today could be the first day of an entirely different life. A life where you see yourself as a human being that deserves support and that deserves acknowledgement and that deserves respect. And day one of you learning how to give those things to yourself, how to make that your default. So when you stand in front of that mirror and you feel that resistance because your current default is to reject yourself, it will feel weird to raise your hand and high five yourself. That's good. If it feels weird, it means it's working, because it means we are breaking the thing you normally do and plowing a new neural pathway response to your reflection. So if it's weird, great. That means it's working. The second thing that you'll notice is that as you go to raise your hand, You can be standing there going, this is stupid. Why did I listen to Matt and Mel? I'm a failure. Like I didn't even go to the gym today and I'm high five. What the hell is this? As you can think all that, but as you go to raise your hand, your mind goes quiet because the hand and the gesture is a trigger that then grabs the positive programming that says, I hear you. I see you. I got you. Then you'll feel the dopamine. Then you'll feel the energy boost. And then you go, holy shit, this works. That's what happens.
So I can attest to it. First and foremost, I had pizza, Chinese food, and cookies yesterday, but I gave myself a high five this morning. And you know what? As I did it, I smiled. And I can't tell you how often I smile at myself in a mirror. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And one thing I loved actually that you put in the book was how you ran the marathon in New York City.
Yeah.
And the energy that you get from when people give you high fives. I love that. I've ran it. Not the marathon, I've ran tunnels to towers and things like that. Amazing stuff. But you feel that when you high five yourself. And I'm not saying this for brownie points either. Like I literally felt the energy. So I just wanted to throw that out
Matt,
there.
I know
it is incredible.
For brownie points. Dude, I'm not sitting here saying I've had this solo experience. Everybody trust me. I don't give a shit if people don't believe me. And let me tell you why. I am standing shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of thousands of other people and the world's leading experts saying, no, this actually works because you're wired to have this work. You are born hardwired for love and celebration. A lot of people, Matt, not only smile, but then they cry. And the reason why they cry is because there is this deep longing to be seen, heard, and celebrated. Your true nature is a human being who deserves love and support. And so many people cry when they first start doing this because there's a sense that you're finally coming back home to who you truly are. It's powerful stuff. And, another thing that I'll tell, the folks that are listening is that, chapter 2 of the book is nothing but research. Because look, I know on its face, it sounds stupid. And I'm super passionate because I know the science here. And there was this incredible research study that people love that, there's a big article about it in the Wall Street Journal in 2011, if you Google this. Researchers at Berkeley looked at NBA teams and they wanted to know what are the habits that all of the teams with the winningest records at the end of a season have. And they were surprised because what they discovered is that the NBA teams that have the best records all share one interesting habit in the preseason. The teams that have the most fist bumps, pats on the back, and high fives during the preseason go on to have the best performance in terms of wins for the whole season. And the same holds true for the teams who perform the worst. During the preseason, they have the least amount of pats on the back and fist bumps and high fives. And the answer is why? Why is this a fact? And the Wall Street Journal article is really interesting because they're like, yeah, we read this study. We didn't believe it. And then we actually watched the tapes and did the numbers. And they're right. The reason why is a high five is more than a gesture. It communicates trust and partnership. And that trust and partnership fuels momentum and inspiration and motivation. And I'm here to tell you, you will experience the same thing with yourself if you start to raise your hand exactly where you are. Look, your life may suck right now. You may be going through a divorce. You may have been fired from a job. You may be facing bankruptcy and nearly $1 million in debt like I was a decade ago. You may have just learned that somebody cheated on you. You may have been told no from your dream school. You may have lost the election. When you raise your hand to your reflection on those mornings, it's not going like, yeah, it's awesome. It's saying, I get it. It's freaking hard. I get it. And guess what? You still got this. You're going to be okay.
Now, with an NBA team, like that's an incredible example, right? That research there. There are, and this is actually the premise of the show, like exposing the quote unquote secrets to success. Like we know what they are. They're out there. Mel Robbins is putting them out in books. You're hopping on podcasts, amplifying them, so on and so forth.
Yep.
But people don't actually, and when I say people, myself, because I could be doing 1,000,001 things for myself to level up in life. we don't necessarily apply it. So an MBA team, for instance, they have this research. Why wouldn't they implement it more? I'm just curious and I'm using the MBA as an example here because you just gave it. Why don't we take those secrets and actually apply them? Like the application isn't always there.
Because we don't think we're worthy.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that, like at the bottom, like I know because I've been doing the research now.
Yeah.
I've been helping people for a decade. The fundamental problem in everybody's life is a deep sense of self-hatred or a lack of worthiness or a just crushing and relentless habit of rejecting yourself, focusing on the negative. These are all learned thinking patterns and learned behaviors. And I'm here to tell you that when you attack the core problem and you break the habit of hating yourself and you break the habit of focusing on what's wrong and you break the habit of judging everything that you do, every text you send, every email you write, everything you just said at work, when you break the habit of the grinding criticism and you replace it with a habit of support, encouragement, forgiveness, self-kindness, magical shit happens because you will have discovered the secret to motivation. You will never feel motivated when you're beating yourself down. You will always feel motivated when you feel lifted up. This is why the best part of running a marathon or tunnels to towers or anything is not the actual race. It's the fact that strangers are clapping for you and high-fiving you. It's that encouragement that empowers you to keep moving forward. And we've all like somehow gotten into this mess where we believe that we can somehow beat the shit out of ourselves and change our lives. Like this is why diets don't work. People go on diets because they hate how they look. They don't go on diets because they feel that they deserve to be healthier. Like when you're fixing something about yourself, you're coming from a place of making yourself wrong. Nobody feels motivated when they're berated. You feel motivated when you're being cheered for exactly where you are. We don't stand as spectators in the race and cross our arms and go, Matt, I'm not clapping for you. Look at your freaking split time, moron. But we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, the bottom line is you've just never been taught how to do this. And so, when you attack the core problem that robs you of happiness, robs you of inspiration, robs you of your dreams, robs you of joy and contentment and peace and purpose, and that core problem is self-hatred. When your whole business and pursuit of success becomes part of your self-expression, and it's driven by something that's deep in your heart, like it is for me now, making an impact, rather than chasing something or needing to prove something, which is all a make wrong. When you bring it back in-house from a place of feeling accepted and supported and aligned with your true nature, it's unbelievable what happens. Like for me, at 13 years ago, my husband and I were nearly $1 million in debt. We were about to lose our house. He had gone into the restaurant business and we had secured everything with our life savings and our home. And the first little pizza joint did great. And then as they tried to expand, things got terrifying. And then the first housing crisis hit in 2008. And I found myself in a situation I never thought I'd be in. I was 41 years old. We had 3 kids under the age of 10. We were 800 grand in debt. I couldn't buy groceries. Every credit card maxed out, the home equity line maxed out, liens on the house. I mean, just absolutely terrifying. And it was during that moment of my life that I created the 5-second rule. And this rule, you just count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. And it cuts through procrastination and self-doubt. It kind of silences the hesitation that holds you back. And I became a machine. Like it was life-changing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pick up the phone and make the cold call. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, turn off the TV and get to work. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, don't snap at the kids. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, don't drink the alcohol. And over the course of the last 10 years, I have become wildly successful.
more successful than I ever thought I'd ever be, made more money than I ever thought possible. And yet, when I looked in the mirror, Matt, I still saw a person I hated. I saw all the things I wasn't doing. I saw, the 5-Second Rule is a self-published book. It was the number one audio self-published. It's still the number one self-published audiobook in the world. Not enough. I've sold 2 million copies of that self-published book in 4 years, and it's been translated into 36 languages. Not bad for somebody with dyslexia and ADHD who self-published
That's
their
incredible.
book. Not enough. I launched a daytime syndicated talk show with Sony Pictures Television. My dream since being a little girl, taped it at the CBS Broadcast Center. Not enough. Published the, High Five Habit. It's doing extraordinarily well. And I have a totally different relationship to it. And here's why. In April of 2020, when life was punching me in the face, I discovered that high-fiving myself in the mirror silenced the critic and taught me how to see myself as a human being that is worthy of support and celebration and love. It has broken apart the relentless self-hatred and the relentless focus on what's not going right. And it has reprogrammed my mind to focus on what is going well. And when you can focus on the little things that are going great, it makes you start to see the bigger things that can go great. And when you wake up and you feel a sense of momentum, because you know that no matter what happens today, I have my own back. No matter who doesn't invite me to a party or what bestseller list I don't make or what crappy things somebody says about me, yeah, it might sting, but it doesn't change the fact that for the first time in 53 years, I like myself. I respect myself. I encourage myself. It doesn't mean I'm a narcissistic asshole. It doesn't mean I think I'm better than anybody else. The High Five Habit is about doubling down on compassion for yourself and support for yourself and kindness toward yourself. And that changes everything, because your relationship with yourself is what determines what your life feels like. If you look in the mirror and you see what's wrong, you will step out into the world and experience what's wrong. If you look in the mirror and you hate yourself, you will inevitably and disrespect yourself and reject yourself. You will step out into the world and you will allow other people to disrespect you because you just did it in the bathroom with yourself. When you learn as a habit to look in the mirror and treat yourself with respect and compassion, to treat yourself as if you like yourself, and the gesture alone, I don't even want you to say anything. I just want you to raise your hand because your mind recognizes this gesture as something you only do to somebody you actually like and respect. When you start to demonstrate that to yourself every single morning, it changes how you show up in the world. There isn't a damn thing anybody could say about me or to me that would change the fact that I respect myself. Because every morning when I stand before myself in the mirror, I show myself that I respect myself by high-fiving myself for where I am. I'm still here. I'm breathing. I'm going to try again today. Why has it been tough? You really love her. You're getting on a plane and you're going to go see her.
Yeah, I love her a bunch.
Okay.
So I guess I'm kind of coming to the realization that I haven't been hearing her properly, connecting with her on the level that I should be. And now I'm trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
So a couple months ago, we've been having counseling. And,
That's good. My husband and I go to counseling.
It helps. She was doing it before, and then it kind of became the group, and then now I kind of see a little bit on my own. So I'm recognizing these things, but I also know like a couple of months ago in counseling, she admitted on her last tour that she had emotionally connected with somebody else. So obviously that put a big fire under my ass.
Yeah.
And supposedly
it's scary.
Supposedly I handled it really well, so she's wanting to do all this. She's worked a lot on herself for kind of getting to the point where she's at.
Yeah.
She's got a spot on the bookshelf that's 12, 15 composition books deep of just thoughts ever since she was back, I think she said, to like 12.
Amazing.
So, because of some things that happened to her before that age of being taken advantage of. So she's had to do a lot of that.
This is serving as a final boarding class. The doors are closing in about 3 minutes, and they will
in doing this, you realize how much you need to work on yourself.
It's scary. And then a lot of regrets come up, and a lot of things you wish you could do over, and then you start to realize there's shit from your past that really messed with you, that you shoved down, that happened when you were a kid. This is, I think, the cycle that we all hit in adulthood. And here's the amazing opportunity. You not only have an amazing opportunity to change the person that you are and to change the relationship that you have with your wife, but you have an amazing opportunity to change the relationship you have with yourself. Because your thoughts, your feelings, they actually matter too. And you can't get...
I've been neglected.
Yes. See, relationships are amplifiers. You go into a relationship and you're not right with yourself, that relationship just magnifies what's missing. What did you just get from that?
I like that. Well, it's going to expose those demons more.
Yeah, and here's the thing that most men, at least in a traditional gender sense, don't understand. That it takes tremendous strength to be vulnerable. It takes tremendous strength to talk about the shit that's bothering you.
Yeah.
It takes tremendous strength to admit that you're wrong and to be scared. And that's actually what makes you connect more deeply to your partner. My husband of 25 years failed miserably in the restaurant business. Nearly bankrupted us. Lost it all. When he left the business, he was an alcoholic and completely lost and demoralized. And I did not know until recently, because it was through these rock bottom moments that my career took off. I invented this little thing called the 5-second rule that I used to get out of bed when the anxiety was so crushing. The only thing that would help me escape it was drinking myself into oblivion to numb it all out. And I started using this little brain hack to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, shut down the noise in my brain and launch myself forward through the fear, through the pain, through all of it. And my whole life turned around. Chris's life turned around. But I did not know until recently, when we've been in couples therapy, that the man has, for the last 8 years, just been beating the hell out of himself because he feels like he failed. He feels like he wasn't there for me. He feels like he didn't do his job providing.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. And then when your spouse starts to get successful and they start to find themselves, it gets very confronting. And so what I want to tell you is that the opportunity to connect with her is through being open and through being vulnerable. Like, go toward that shit. I'm proud of you.
I've been doing it, as you see.
I can see that. I can see that. I can see that. And you got to learn how to love yourself, regardless of what happened, regardless of what you did or didn't do, regardless of all that. You got to learn how to look in the mirror and see a man who is worth rooting for and who is worthy of love. It is not too late to change this. It is not too late to change your life. It's not too late to change your marriage. But it's an inside-out job. You start to show yourself some kindness and some love. And you start sharing more of the stuff that's coming up for you. And that is the path that's going to actually heal you, and it's going to
stop.
Yes.
Yeah. So to speak. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Just need my mojo back. I think that's what she met in me. I had a nice swagger and everything, but it's gotten diluted or
by life.
I think so. Maybe my own just being stagnant. And
that's it.
Accepting instead of keep pushing.
You know, my good friend Joel Marin, who you should follow, just sent me a freaking thing that he wrote today. Oh my God, Joel. Praise you, Joel. Joel, I cannot believe this. Joel Marin, I'll give you his name. He literally wrote me this whole thing that he wrote today that you need to hear.
Very shortly will not reopen. This is your
Wait till I'm gonna find out. Marion. He wrote me this whole thing about the fact that when we are born, we have incredible potential, but so few of us realize what we're capable of. And he uses this analogy. This is in your DNA. You were created to be a Lamborghini in life. You have literally everything inside you to be able to perform like that Lambo. You're manufactured that way. That engine, 729 horsepower engine is in there, that insane torque. You have unbelievable intrinsic ability to go from 0 to 65 miles per hour in under 3 seconds. But for most of us, we never experience close to those numbers that we are created to perform at. And so he tells a story about how he was test driving one, but the neighborhood he's in has like 35 mile per hour speed limit.
Okay.
He ended up not buying it because he never experienced the potential.
Right.
What you're talking about is you're talking about the fact that you actually know there is that inside of you. And when you lose your capacity that you were built in, and you stop growing, and you stop stretching yourself, and you stop pushing yourself forward and learning new stuff and expressing yourself, something inside you starts to feel like it's dying.
Yeah.
And so I'm telling you,
that engine.
yes, it's still there. And the reason why it's still there is because you miss it. And you can only miss something you know.
Okay.
So I think Joel sent me that for a reason. In times of my life when I've felt lost or stagnant, I say I feel like a racehorse tied to a pony ride at a kid's birthday party. Like I am built to fucking run.
Yeah.
And I hate it when I feel like just tied down like that.
Yeah.
And so there is something inside you that you've been holding back. What do you think it is?
Not really sure.
Well, I would take on a challenge.
I'm not sure if it's a passion that I've ever tapped into or something that I've missed since, earlier years.
Who knows? I think you should take on a challenge. I think you should take on climbing some mountain or some kind of race or some like fitness thing, something that's a little out of your comfort zone to give you something to push you. It doesn't have to be the perfect thing. Just something that you're up to is enough.
Yeah.
But I want to acknowledge you for the fact that you recognize that there's an issue and you're taking the steps to go make the effort. You're getting on a plane, you're flying to surprise your wife.
Not only that, but I deal with motion sickness, vertigo, and
awesome.
And I don't drive well at night, so I've got the bands on.
Great, they work.
I took my motion sickness pills.
I love that. I give you a high five for that. That's fantastic.
We're doing what we can.
You're doing it. Then does she know you? She doesn't know you're coming.
She does now.
Oh, good.
She didn't a couple days ago, but then we were trying to do the pregnancy reveal to some of the family because we just found out last week.
Congratulations!
So she was all like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. You're there, I'm here, and I want to video chat my family and be able to like tell them because she's up where some of the family is and she was seeing some of them coming to visit. So I told her, I'll tell you what, well, I'm actually coming up there. So she was pretty surprised, but
That's awesome. You're going to be an awesome dad. You want to know who the best dads are?
Yeah.
The ones who are actually right with themselves.
That's true.
The ones who are able to talk about their emotions. The ones who are able to be human.
This is my second child. This is her first, but I told them, my son's almost 23.
That's amazing.
So to start over, it's it's been a lot of emotion.
You're not going to start over. You actually are building upon.
Okay. And my son's been great. He's guys would be super impressed with how good my son is. He hasn't seen his mom since he was 6 years old, so I kind of raised him on my own. I mean, there was people in and out of the life, but yeah.
You got a moment in your life to make yourself really proud of yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And if I were a betting woman, some days I am, depends how much liquor I make, I'd place my bet on you.
That's what I'd like. I want that more than anything.
Don't
And
wish for it. Don't want it.
And my wife deserves it.
Do the work. No, hold on.
What? Go ahead.
You deserve it.
I deserve it. Okay.
Give yourself what you're seeking from other people. Seek redemption and forgiveness because you deserve it from yourself. And in my book, forgiveness means that you have stopped wishing things could be different. Accept everything that's happened or didn't happen as a lesson. And as long as you hold on to that shit from the past, you're actually still there.
Yeah. Okay.
What'd you get out of this?
I got a little more resiliency, a little pick-me-up, and I'm glad I came and talked to you very much and took the time. I wasn't sure if I was imposing because I didn't know if it was more like a female thing, but I have plenty of emotion that I'm pretty open with. Sometimes too open, maybe. I don't
think so. I'm also going to introduce you to my husband. So he created a men's group a men's retreat called Soul Degree, where he takes guys out into the woods for 5 days to actually have these kinds of conversations. And he's had guys from 22 to 60 plus, multiple tours of duty, professional athletes, regular, just everyday folks like all of us. And it's remarkable. And what he also does, because he only does these a couple times a year, is he also has calls every month where it's guys get on and he leads a meditation, and then there's a topic that y'all discuss, and it's really freaking cool. And so I will make sure that you have his information, and I will get both of your email addresses, and I will have my team email you a credit so you can listen to one of my books on Audible.
That's what's cool. I've been doing a lot more trying to listen to stuff. And you know, you just don't know what direction to go because some stuff is just, some people just want to make some money on you. And you know, there's so much out there. You just want to find the right path.
Yeah.
As best as possible.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.